Hello, this is the Monotone Sensors here with another video. I'm here going to talk about the trial and what went down. And it kind of surprised me, not going to lie, that they got him through all three charges. Um, second degree murder and the manslaughter charges. Now, the one that surprised me the most was the second degree murder, because I didn't think they're going to nail him on that, because they have to prove like intent and all this other shit. And I thought that was going to be really hard to do. And there's a couple problems with the whole thing, the whole trial. There's been some politicians that said they need to get more like aggressive if they didn't get a guilty plea. And I think one of the bigger mistakes is the judge not sequestering the jury like right away. He denied it, I think, 2 or 3 times, which I thought was a huge mistake. As his defense attorney says, like, it is almost impossible to, not have some kind of exposure to this case in some way. I know the judge said that, well, I ordered them not to watch the news, but you don't really have to watch the news to be tainted by this, because there are a few like mainstream, like shows like SVU and stuff like that do like dramatizations of such things. So unless they are completely cut off from, internet, phones, TV, I don't see how they could not be kind of influenced by what was going on out there, or the actions of them coming with a non-guilty or a hung jury decision. And I think it's very hard to say how fair this trial was overall. I'm just questioning, was this trial fair? And even the judge says they have grounds for appeal because what this lady said. And there's this CBS article, I think it was, that said they're going to dox people. I don't think they were going to dox people, but I can see where people think that. If you want to look that up, you can. It's very easy to look up. So it feels like this is kind of like a hollow victory. I'm not saying I don't disagree with it, because I agree with the decision they came to. Because he was tried by his peers, he got his due process and stuff like that. That's not the issue here. My issue is, how fair was it? And will this guy win on appeal in a couple of years, like 4 or 5 years? Maybe sooner, because all of the comments made, not only by the official, po- political official, CBS, and the president, saying, well, this is not enough for us. Yeah, we got this one person, but this is not enough. We need to do more. Like, how many articles I read, like, well, this is just accountability, not justice. This wasn't really justice and stuff like that. Like, you give them an inch and they take a mile. That's the biggest problem here. And it feels like the judge did this fucking shit on purpose, like not sequestered the jury for that he can get an appeal. Like, it'd be a lot harder to do an appeal if he sequestered the jury from the beginning. I think it seems like he just did this shit on purpose so he can get an appeal. He just had to make sure that there was a decision, and he'll quietly appeal, and I think he might have even overturned, and no one will ever know, or very few people. I'm not saying no one will forget or anything like that, but in about 4 years. I'm not saying no one is going to forget or anything like that, but it's going to have less impact, or it's not going to be as high profiled, and he might win the appeal because it's so, I wouldn't say so old, but it's like he has a chance to win the appeal with not much coverage on it because it'll be like kind of shuffled in with the other appeals, and I'm sure mainstream media will bring it up. Don't get me wrong, but by that time, he's probably already going to have the jury and the process done by anything. By the time someone says, "Well, he won on appeal," it's going to be too late, and he'll be free. Of course, he'll never live a normal life, and he'll never be able to be a police officer again. That's pretty obvious. They can put him within protection program, whatever, and he'll just disappear, and no one fucking know the wiser. Basically, that's what I'm getting to. So we'll find out in maybe about 4 or 5 years. Appeals do take a long time. Depending on how much he serves, I think he might get about 15 years, 15 to 20. And, I don't think there's always a little pressure on that as well. Him not getting enough time. I think 20 years is, I think, fair, but he might get to full 40. I'd be floored if he got 40 years. I'd be surprised as shit, but you never know. But I'm just wondering if this was a fair and just trial, and they didn't, kind of guess kneeled for the mob, because there are people on saying they're going to riot and burn down buildings if they didn't get the right decision. You got politicians saying you have to get more aggressive. CBS is trying to fucking dox people, even though I don't think they were doxing. But as I said before, I don't think they were trying to dox people. But I can see why people think they were. A lot of this shit, there's a lot of tension, a lot of fucking things that a lot of people think they had to say, get them all three accounts, or shit would have hit the fan. And I don't see how people would look at this trial and be like, well, it's fair, and he's not going to get an appeal, and he's not going to win an appeal. Which, I don't fucking know. He might not win. That's a fair assessment. But, of course, he could just quietly appeal and quietly get it overturned, and we might not have a huge coverage of it. Or we'll have a huge coverage after he's won. So, we'll see, I guess, in about 4 years. 4 to 5 years, I'm guessing. Usually it takes a long time. It might take a little bit faster. Who knows? I don't think it's going to take any faster in about 4 years. But this leaves people saying this kind of shit. You just can't say this shit. And people just look on this. Some people, not everybody, on the outside looking in, say how is this kind of fair when these politicians are getting into it? It seems a very political thing, and racism never came up into the trial, at least not to my knowledge. He didn't say he killed him because he's black. I didn't hear that one argument. As far as I know, I didn't watch the 100% of the whole thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but racism did not fucking come up. Now, after the sentencing, which is coming up soon, I think, let's say if he gets 20 years, he'll serve maybe 4 or 5, try to get to the appeal. If he wins, I don't know what's going to happen. I guess it's more on a wait and see kind of basis, because I totally can see him winning on appeal, but as terms of how fair it was, I really don't know. I don't know how you can look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is totally 100% fair, and the jury wasn't tainted at all. Like I can't honestly say that. That like I don't see how they could just not be sequestered and be able to watch TV. They wasn't supposed to watch the news, but if they watched TV at all, I don't see how they avoided it. So let's say if they did avoid it, just for argument's sake, they weren't, pressured to have a guilty verdict. I mean, they might not have been threatened or anything, but doxing your information, say you need to get more aggressive, and we're going to burn down buildings and shit if we don't get a guilty verdict. Well, that does that doesn't exactly threaten any of these people directly, but it sure does, I think, taint the jury to vote guilty more so than being hung or non-guilty. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, because I don't think this trial is 100% fair. I mean, I can agree to the verdict, but again, not think it's too fair considering everything that's happened. So I guess we will revisit this in about 5 years to see if he wins the appeal and go from there, pretty much. Thank you for listening. Rate, comment, subscribe.